that turned down a little bit. Okay, so tell me about yourselves and what you do.
Who do you want to go first?
Whoever wants to go first.
Okay, my name is Dana, and I'm the pantry manager at our neighbor's farm and pantry.
Janine.
My name is Janine, yellow hair brown, and I work in the garden at our neighbor's farm and pantry. It's like a farm and garden because we have animals. So we have 2 goats and a sheep.
You might need to speak that. Can you hear her okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
We run the education program, so we have lots of little kids who come to visit our garden. Well, during regular school times, non-COVID, and then we bring the food we grow into the pantry where Dana works. So I come from Navajo Nation. My clan is Black Streak on the Wood people, and my dad's clan is Towering House. So that's how we introduce ourselves. And so we came here about 3 years ago to, my husband was going to work at the mine, and then I found the garden. So it was a really pleasant place, very spiritual, and that's what I like. So go ahead, Stacy.
So I'm Stacy Scaris. I moved here 2.5 years ago for this job. I came from Louisiana, where I was managing a nature center. I was also teaching at the university a class called Wilderness Adventure Training for college students. I also was, on weekends, I would guide paddle trips and hiking trips. And I founded, and I was still working with this organization, that's why I'm going to mention this one. I founded 2 Master Naturalist programs, and I was still president until I moved here. Like, actually, a couple of months, or 3 or 4 months before I moved here, I told them somebody else has to do it. So I kind of bowed out that way. But I have been immersed in nature most of my life. I founded an organization that put in food gardens in low-income areas in our community. Well, co-founded that. A friend of mine co-founded it with me. And I've volunteered extensively. So not just for wildlife issues and the environment, but music. And, we have one of the best global festivals in Lafayette, Louisiana, which is Festivals International. And, I volunteered for them for 20 years, picking artists up, musicians up at the airport. I'd bring them to the hotel, then I'd bring them to their gigs, and we'd really get to know the musicians that way. But I just volunteer for everything. But here it's been a little difficult. So I'm the executive director of our neighbor's farm and pantry, and it is a very time-consuming job. So
you oversee the pantry and the garden.
And the bunkhouse. We also have a bunkhouse that we rent out the bunkhouse when we don't have AmeriCorps members here. So we'll write grants with the Gila Watershed Partnership and with the Extension Services. And if we succeed at writing the grant, then we receive 12 AmeriCorps members. So these are kids between the ages of 18 and 25. So they will come here to Safford. They work with us during the week. They work with the Gila Watershed Partnership and the Extension Services. On the weekends, they still have to put in a lot more volunteer time. So they start volunteering for other organizations within Graham County, like Desert Cat Rescue. They volunteered for them. They volunteer for the Lions Club, for powwow and all this stuff. So when they're not here, because they will stay for 3 months and then that's it, they leave. And we usually just get them once a year. I rent it out. So I'm renting it out. I rented it out today to someone, and we'll rent out by rooms. We have 3 rooms there. Anyway, there's a lot more to the organization because, like Janine said, I mean, we have the food pantry, which is extremely important. We're working on trying to establish the reasons why people need a food pantry. Like, what are the root reasons of needing a food pantry? And once we can figure some of that out, we want to be able to offer this is in the process right now. We want to offer monthly workshops out here, like all day kind of events where people can come here and learn how to write a resume, like seriously how to write a resume, because that's so important. You will not only write a resume, but you also have to know how to interview. And anyway, somebody here helping people who come to the pantry and anyone else work on that, and then send them to like Arizona Works to complete, their resume over there. And then like if you want to know what's available as far as drug rehabs go and how to maneuver that. So if you have an addiction, well, there are places here where you can go, but I don't know if anyone knows of all the places. So we want someone here who can not just tell you where you can go, but how do you, step by step, how do you do this? How do you get into some sort of program? What is that going to look like? How is that going to happen? And what's going to happen when you come out? So we really want to help people find other resources so that they won't have to eventually rely on a food pantry.
Interesting. I've never thought about that process, that it would even start at a food pantry.
Mm-hmm.
That's really great. That's really great.
Right. They're already coming here. So why would we not be the people that are helping them to find resources that could better their lives in many ways?
Yeah. How neat. Wow. So, how many people do you think you serve in a year?
Do you remember?
Well, I believe we serve roughly anywhere between 200 and 300 people a month. So that would be what?
Right. Well, honestly, when we looked at last year, including everyone within the family, just in the pantry, it was over 9,000 people last year. But we also do outreach, so you can add another 3,000 to that. So you're looking at, or maybe even more than 3,000, but you're looking at a very significant number of people. We do a little. So you're looking at.
Sorry.
Oh, it's all right. We periodically, if we have like a huge excess and we've spread it out throughout our community, then we will look at helping out Greenlee County, because they don't have a food pantry in Clifton and Morenci. They have a food pantry in Duncan, but I think they only get food once a month. So when we have excess food, well, maybe they get it more than once a month, but when we have excess food, we do want to help others, not just people within Grand County, but Greenlee it's a food desert. There's a lot of food deserts in Grand County too, but Duncan, that is a food desert,
Mm-hmm.
Really and truly.
That's a lot of people. That's
Yes.
a lot of people to be served.
And then Janine, she sees, well, when she would see classes pre-COVID, you were having, how many classes would come each week?
So each week we would have anywhere from 4 to about 8 classes coming.
Every week.
Every week. And then monthly.
What kind of classes?
3rd and 4th graders from the local elementary schools. So little ones.
Well, but not
and
just
then
them.
We have the diversion programs,
And
students, homeschoolers.
homeschoolers.
Oh, cool.
Right.
So we have a whole lot of different students coming. We also have 4-H students who come here. We have the U of A students who come here, and everybody gets to learn a little bit about our garden and how we do outreach here. I think last year, before COVID, spring break, we had, I think, 214 students coming through. And that's all the students from just the elementary classes. So, and then we count the.
But most of those classes come every week of those students. You know, some would come every other week and some would come once a month. But you figure those, so even though it sounds like the number's low, if you added up, you know, those 22, 23 students that came each week in that class, you know, for 30 weeks out of the year, then you're getting a much higher number.
And are they getting an experience of all the different things that go into gardening, the weeding, the watering?
They're not just, and I'm going to let Janine touch on that, but they're learning STEM concepts. So Janine's teaching them science and math, and she's going to explain to you how she does that, but also social studies and culture. You know, like you can walk around in our garden. There's a few signs up, but some of the signs that we have up have, you know, the Navajo name, and then underneath they'll have the English name. And we're trying to expand on that. We tried to find names that were Apache, but then some of them were kind of close to Navajo, but we never could. We're still trying to find that, but we also want to have Spanish out there too, you know, not just Navajo.
So we do have we do have Spanish. We have, and Apache is really close to Navajo. So hold on, okay, I was thinking about STEM. We do science, technology. We do engineering and math. We even do language arts, language. So we have the lamb I mentioned earlier. His name is Becky, and it's a Navajo word. So when all the students are calling him to give him some weeds, they're all speaking Navajo all at once. And it's really awesome because they try so hard to say, is it shit? And that just means red goat in Navajo, or brown goat. And when they're trying, they're using like all the muscles in their mouths. They're using their brain. They're using all kinds of like processes to say just that one word. And then they're using like their eyes, because there's so many glottal stops and accent marks and nasal marks you have to use to say these words, and how you spell them. So just teaching them culture. I tell them stories from my grandparents. I tell them stories from my parents, history, and share with them all kinds of good knowledge. There's medicine in our pollinator garden, herbal medicine. The plants that we plant, you know, it's spiritual. To be closer to nature, to become spiritual, all you have to do is plant something.
Mm-hmm.
So
tell us what a pollinator garden is.
A pollinator garden, well, we have a native pollinator garden, so all the plants in our garden are native to this area, southern Arizona.
And there's many reasons for that.
Yeah, because they grow easy without being watered a lot, and it's a low water usage garden too. So and their plants are just right. If you go on the mountain, you'll find all the plants we have in the pollinator garden, and a lot of pollinators come here. All kinds of pollinators: bats, butterflies, lizards, beetles, hummingbirds, moths. All kinds of pollinators come through. Even the ants. So they're pollinating our garden, and they are helping our world and helping our garden and helping the people. We don't even think about the bees, you know, how helpful they really are. Everyone knows they're busy, but what are they busy doing? They're busy helping humans. So just so much, you know, that the kiddos learn, and I think teaching them what we learned from our grandparents, being that link to our future is something that's really, really important to me.
Yeah.
My kids learn it every single day. I have 2 boys, and they're speaking Navajo. They're learning stories from way, way back, and just keeping that alive, I think, keeps our culture alive, our language, and even here, we have so much culture in Stafford, and there's so many different cultures here, different languages, different people from all kinds of places. So those are some of the things the kids learn, and they get to also feel the satisfaction of growing something and seeing it grow, taking care of it, and then at the end harvesting it and eating the produce, taking some home for their families. But the best part is seeing the clients, just become so happy when a little kid gives them some produce from the garden that they grew for them.
Yeah.
And so the clients are always so happy. We just gave a donor of the month gratitude basket that we put together. It's normally for the donors. We choose a donor randomly and every month, and they get a gratitude basket from our garden. This month, the donor wanted one of the clients to get the basket instead of them. So we prepared a basket, and it was beautiful. There were Swiss chard, onions, beets, radishes, sugar snap peas, peppers. There were some carrots, blackberries, and it was a beautiful basket. And we gave it to a person who was in line to receive food from the pantry, and who was the first one here, so we chose him.
That's awesome.
And he was extremely grateful. His face lit up. He had a huge smile. He was willing to take pictures, and it was really cool. But just helping out people, I think that's kind of what I grew up doing, and my whole family. It's really, our lives have really been community based. You help out somebody because you never know who's going to help you out in the future.
Right, because we're all this far from not having a job and not having a home.
Yeah.
Everybody.
We have a question in the chat. Do you save seeds to plant next year?
Yes, we have started saving seeds in our garden. So right now we have like corn seeds. We have Hopi Blue, Navajo Blue. We have the copper seeds and white corn seeds, sweet corn, different kinds of flowers, different kinds of seeds that we're able to find, even okra seeds. So it's something new we're trying. But yeah, if people want some seeds, they can come over and get a packet worth or 2.
We just learned that planting marigolds helps to keep the bugs and stuff away from our vegetables. So I think that's so cool just to find out stuff like that.
Right, and like basil is good between your tomato plants. That'll help with the bugs. I don't like to say pests. So
Yes.
it's
Yeah,
a bug.
they all have their place, right?
Right, they do.
I just call them critters, all little critters.
Critters. That's a good one.
We do companion planting, so all the plants, they're happy together and they help each other grow. And we have our 4 sacred plants. Well, Navajo, we call it 4 sacred plants or 3 sacred plants. Other people call it the 3 sisters. That's a really great example of companion planting: corn, beans, and squash. And we have a really, really awesome demonstration garden. So we have a spiral trench and we grow corn in there. So something that Navajos did. Another cultural teaching. So the little ones, they forgot. Some of the little ones, they actually forgot that, or maybe never even knew that there's natives still around. So when my son came here, they were asking him, when you were still an Indian, what did you eat? Stuff like that. And we were like, regular food like you. No, they just don't understand. So giving the little ones that knowledge, I think, helps them, think about other things that's not usual to them.
It is amazing that that's not, I mean, that's not known. It's amazing that that's not known.
Yeah.
What, they're like,
Yeah.
what
But
kind of
how many
house do you live in? So
What's that?
they say stuff like, what kind of house did you guys live in?
Yeah.
Like, just the same house as you do.
How many
But-
different varieties of plants do you guys have there?
Different varieties.
Yeah, like what all do you grow? Do you grow just like every different kinds of vegetables? Do you have fruit trees and stuff as well?
We have pomegranate trees and blackberries. We have strawberries, but one of our volunteers took them all out because they thought they were weeds. But we do have just those 2 trees, right?
Right. Well, we're planning on, I recently with a consultant, we wrote a grant. And if we receive the grant, then we have property to south of town. When I mentioned the bunkhouse, actually there's 2 houses on this property. I live in one, and then the other house is the bunkhouse. But there's about 2.5 acres that can be farmed, or maybe 3 acres, depending on how we did it. But if we get the grant, then the consultant will go out there and do an assessment and see exactly what we can do. But we are hoping to have a small orchard out there. And we're also hoping that we will probably be able to save more seeds and sell, plants. And we're hoping to do adult education out there. Those are probably the 3 top things right now that we're thinking will work. But until, the assessment is done, we don't have a real strong plan.
Yeah, it's takes a lot of strategizing, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Now,
Yeah.
one of the things that we were able to do, because I a couple of years ago, well, the first year I was here, I wrote a grant that allowed us to have community meetings and with stakeholders in this community. We started the Gila Valley Food Coalition. And some of the things were to start a farmer's market, and one started in the chamber, even though that is out of transition and we're transitioning into a different farmer's market. Also, to create a resource guide, which is now, you can find it on Graham County's website. But there's other things that we wanted to do, like I was being kind of selfish about some of the things I wanted to do at the pantry, but this was a community gathering of people. So we went, with the top 4 or 3 that we've been working on. Anyway, we were able to, United Way provided money to hire a Vista AmeriCorps member. She has been here now for 5 months. She'll be here for another 7 months. And what she's doing is really strategizing, growing the coalition, making sure that when she does leave, the coalition will continue. And there's some great things coming out of that coalition, like a food truck, a food pantry, mobile food pantry. So it looks like that is going to be a reality very soon. And that food pantry truck would serve all of Graham County, and it would serve Greenlee County. So, Graham County goes way into the San Carlos Reservation. So it would probably be a couple of days over there, a couple of days, south and north and east of Safford, and then a day over in Greenlee County. I mean, we haven't figured out the logistics yet, but that's kind of what we're thinking. So that's pretty exciting for us, because we're really trying to work on being able to get food to people who are in these food deserts. There's a lot of people that can't drive to town. They can't afford to drive to town. They, their car's broken. They can't put gas in it. So this mobile pantry will help, get food to those people who can't come to town.
That's really great.
Mhm.
Yeah, because there's a lot of we're in Arizona, so there's a lot of elderly that
Right.
retire here and
Mhm.
they don't get out very much, especially in the summer months. It's hard, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Dana, tell us about the pantry.
Well, we serve a lot of individuals. We get the produce. We get the produce from the garden, and we also get donations from local grocery stores and restaurants, and Safeway, Bash's, and Walmart are some of the donors. And then we also get donations from KFC and Pizza Hut and Subway. So
So it's
wow,
food,
that's great.
it's food rescue donations. So it's not like flat out, I'm going to give you the best of it. It's
right.
what is not going to last. That's what we get. But there is a problem because they're getting better at figuring out how much food they really need to purchase so that they can sell all of it before the end date. They're getting better and better at that. So we're looking at a future of food pantries across the U.S. and food banks of diminished food resources. So it will be a problem one day. It was a big problem during COVID,
Yes.
but and now you even have pretty bad days.
Yeah, our donations have been down drastically within the past month. But because of the farmer to family boxes, we actually had a lot of food to hand out in the month of May. So.
And where did those boxes come from?
Those came from Shamrock. It was a grant from the USDA.
And so you don't see anything like that on the horizon?
No, the program has ended.
So you have to kind of find a new source, huh?
Yeah, well, we also get deliveries sometimes twice a month from Wilcox, and that is part of Southeast Arizona Community Food Bank. So that helps us out a lot too.
So you get those donations, the restaurants and the stores, and then working out of the garden as well.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All of that goes into whatever you guys are ultimately handing out.
Yes.
And
Yep.
and all of the regular volunteer all the other donations, and the biggest donation, which is Double R, they do a school food drive, and that's where we get. Let's see, this last year, I don't remember, we got around 30,000. No, was it 30? 20,000 pounds. I think 16. It was
close to 16.
Yeah, I think it was 16 this past year, and it was almost like we were 100 pounds short of 20,000 the year before.
Right.
So that is in canned goods and dry goods, and that's huge. So without that program, we could never sustain this. I mean, we could never sustain this through the year, this pantry. It wouldn't happen. We have to have food drives happen. And then sometimes, like lately, especially because I really am pushing for this, people are having food drives at their place of business, which is great because they do a food drive there. They bring it to us. There's one friend of mine, what he does is every time he goes to the grocery store, he buys something extra and he puts it in a box, and then he'll bring that to us once every month or so. So,
Yeah.
And then for Christmas, the new minister, dang it, it's not a minister, pastor. Oh, so the new Pastor Corby over here, she's new to Methodist Church.
At the Methodist Church.
What she did is the 12 days of Christmas, but she did a different food each one of the 12 days of Christmas.
Cool.
And then brought us that, which was so, I said, well, next year we should really do that next year. That's one thing we plan on doing, but all the food stuff that we really need, because there's some things that we really need here, and it's hard to get some things. And I've been really pushing, for meat products. Now we have a whole bunch, so that'll last us until the next food drive. So
order a lot of freeze dried food to save for my, like my your food supply kind of thing. Do you guys do any freeze drying stuff? Do you have that equipment, or do you take anything to the? I think they have a freeze dryer thing at the county or the city. I'm not
The
sure.
cooperative extension, yeah.
they do.
It's $10 a day, but it usually takes about 4 days to do the freeze drying. But another thing I would like to mention is Fort Thomas did a really big food drive for us this year too, and they donated 819 pounds of canned goods, and that was just something that the youth group did in Fort Thomas. So we do have different schools that do donate throughout the year. So
That's
So
fantastic.
right, and I mean, we couldn't survive without it because
Yeah.
we don't have the funds to go and purchase food. And most food pantries don't. You rely strictly on donations. So donations from stores, rescue produce rescue, but we rely on monetary donations just to keep this thing going, and we rely on food donations to keep the pantry doors open.
So you can take donations from individuals as well?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So I'll put that in the description of the video. So if someone wants to donate, they can do that. Is it like, do you guys take like Venmo or PayPal or something like that, or they have to?
So if they go to our website, www.ourneighborsfarm.org, there is, a donate button, and that will be PayPal.
Okay, cool. Very good. So that should be fairly easy for people to go on and make a donation.
Right. And I think the easiest thing though for people to do is, and I don't know if a lot of people even realize this, but there is the Arizona tax credit. And a lot of people don't realize exactly what that is. What that is, throughout the year you pay state taxes. At the end of the year, if you look and see, all right, how much state taxes did I pay? So say you are a single person and you paid $600 in state taxes and you're not getting anything back. That's the $600 that goes to the state. Well, if I wanted to donate to a qualifying nonprofit, which we are, then I can donate $400 to Our Neighbors Farm and Pantry, and then give that receipt to my tax preparer, and I will get that money back from the state of Arizona in the form of a check or, direct deposit, whatever. So I just diverted where my state taxes will be spent. You're not out any money at all because you give us 400 and you get back 400. And that way you can keep your tax money local. And this is something that everyone can do. And there's, if you have to pay any state taxes, divert it. So, and there's several qualifying nonprofits in this community. It's not just us. And so I could donate $400, being single, I could donate $400 to a qualifying nonprofit. I can donate another $200 to a school, and that goes towards extracurricular activities, which we do get a little bit of money from that so that kids can participate in our garden education program. So that helps us in that way also. And then foster care, like I could donate another, I think, $200 into foster care organization, which there are none of those in Grand County, but there are in other counties within Arizona.
Interesting. So somebody says in the chat, Molly Makers, hello. She says, oh, wow, great about the Arizona state tax. So yes, that is really good information. So like that $400, like approximately how many people would that ultimately feed in the year?
Well, oh geez.
Sorry, I didn't make you do math.
No, I mean, I'm trying to think about the totals. I could get out I'd have to turn on my phone again and get out my calculator, but I know what our budget is and I know how many people about that we served, but it's kind of difficult for us to figure that out because we do the garden education and we run the garden also. But yeah, I would have to really break it down into very specific pantry and very specific garden and figure it out that way. But it probably is not going to happen right now.
Yeah. That's okay. So, do you guys have how many animals do you have there? I'm imagining a whole bunch of chickens and some goats.
We just have the 2 goats and 1 lamb. Well, he's not a lamb no more. He's a sheep. He's past a year old. But we raised him here.
A super fat lamb.
Yeah. He is really healthy. Their jobs are to eat the weeds. So we tether them to different places that are really weedy, and we tether them just because if we let them go, they're gonna eat like all the lettuce, or they're gonna eat whatever's nearby. So we have to kind of keep them away and just give them enough slack to eat just the weeds around where they're at. Then we go and move them. So we have the 2 goats. They're like, I don't know, 8 years old or maybe 9 years old. And they're the children's favorites. They love to pull the weeds. We say, okay, let's go get 1 basket each, and we can all go feed the goats. So that's 20 students. That's 20 baskets of weeds in 45 minutes.
Cool.
So the kids are extremely helpful.
I had 2 goats growing up, and they would eat everything but the weeds, like everything. We had to really be careful where they would go. Molly Make says, is there a community garden for people to grow their own food?
So not here, but that's one of the things that we are considering south of town. The problem is it's 5 miles south of town, but we have thought about that. We are, that could be a possibility in the future for sure.
That would be interesting, because I know that there are people that would like to be able to garden that don't have the space, and
right.
Having a little plot to be able to take care of, I think is kind of a neat thing. Most of us here in town, I think, have some space. And do you guys promote container gardening? Do you give away any like container garden stuff?
We don't give away like the container garden stuff, like the peat moss and the soil mixtures. We don't give those away, but we do sell tomato plants or chili plants right now. Sometimes we propagate blackberry plants and native pollinator plants. So we grow those in our greenhouse and we sell those. All we ask for is a donation. So you can choose how much you want to pay for a very beautiful tomato plant. That's what we do. We don't give away the all of the things you would need to do container planting. But Bill Cook is from Greenlee County. He works with the Cooperative Extension over there. He just did a really nice workshop on container planting. So if you guys want to check out Greenlee Cooperative Extension, he has all kinds of videos on container planting. Just throwing that out there.
Well, and that's some of the things that we would like to do with on the other property when we develop it. We want to do things like that.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Yeah. It's a hard thing to learn. We have container gardens in our backyard and things grow very different. We have like these little tiny tomatoes on there instead of really big tomatoes and tiny strawberries. So we're not sure what we're doing wrong, but it is really a whole different way to garden, I think. So it takes a lot of.
Yeah, you have to consider the color of your pot, the shape of your pot, the size of your pot, the size of your plants, the kind of medium you use. There's so many things you have to consider when you're doing container planting.
Yeah. And I think here it's hard for things to not get too hot, right? Do you deal a lot with that in the summer with things just not growing because it's too hot?
Most of our summer plants do pretty well, even if they're out in direct sunlight. We do have shade cloth though. If the plants get too hot, we have small little hoops. We put those in, and then we cover the plants if they get way too hot. But most of them, they do just fine.
Really? Okay, because our tomatoes totally stopped last year. So you can with the tinting over it, you can keep them growing.
It depends on what's going on with a tomato. I can't just tell you, yeah, go ahead and cover it and let it keep growing. There's all kinds of things that could be.
But try it, right?
Yeah, you can try it. There's no harm in that. But maybe the watering times aren't consistent, or maybe there's a bug, or maybe there's a disease. I don't know. There's so many different things that could be happening.
Molly Makes is asking, can you get money for selling your produce and put it back into the pantry?
We do that. I started, well, I guess a year and a half ago. Is it been a year and a half ago? We started a Harvest Your Own program so that people they can come on Mondays and Fridays from 9 until noon and purchase produce. So that helps us a little bit. But then what helped us even more was when Janine started planting or, starting plants and then selling the plants. That's helped quite a bit because you've sold a lot this year. And I say quite a bit in the scheme of things, it's not when I'm looking, at my budget, but it helps quite a bit. And we put that right back into the garden so that we can continue to do more growing. And even though most of the produce goes into the pantry, we don't sell, that much produce, and we want to sell mostly the excess produce rather than, take away too much from pantry clients.
So Dana, the droughts that are happening in California right now, I don't know how much that's affecting what food we'll get from the food banks, like the Tucson Food Bank. Have you heard anything about that? How the trickle down effect from the droughts and the food prices going up, what you're going to be able to receive in the next year?
No, and actually, I found that a lot of the produce that we do get from the community food bank is usually from Mexico.
It is from Mexico.
So,
it's not coming from California at all.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So are they having droughts down there? I haven't heard anything about that. Are they doing
I haven't either, honestly.
Good. Maybe it's not so bad, because I was really worried about that, thinking about that whole valley there not being able to grow much. And I know with the drought that we're having, that Arizona is having too, it's just pray for rain every day, basically.
Right.
But in California, you would look at increased prices on almonds, on citrus, and those kinds of things. Well, we actually get our citrus because we don't get citrus that often, but most of our citrus comes from people who live in this community. Like they will go, there's one of our friends, he has a home in, is it Tucson or Phoenix? Phoenix. And he has a bunch of citrus trees and he'll pick them and bring them here. We have another friend that will go to his house sometimes and pick. I know Janine, and didn't you and your kids pick it one year? But he's brought other citrus to us. So it's very helpful if anybody has extra citrus or any fruit that you have growing, you can bring it to the pantry. We will bag it up and we will give it to people who could really use it.
And even pecans.
Yeah.
Nice.
Even eggs.
Yeah.
Right. Eggs, we do have somebody who brings eggs.
Yeah.
But not all the time.
Molly Makes is asking, how about sell baked goods? I know a healthy... I know not healthy, but for a fundraiser. Some of them can be healthy. And they're always happy, right? Molly Makes, baked goods are always happy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys ever have baked sales fundraisers?
We haven't done that yet, but we are open to doing just about anything. We were kind of brainstorming last week about, how to raise funds and what can we do to raise funds. So we didn't think about a bake sale, but that would be really fun and interesting to do.
I know a few people, so I'll see if I can get some stuff together. And I personally have another channel on YouTube called Catalina Treats Gluten-Free Bakery, and so I can bake you some gluten-free cookies and donate those. So I'd be happy to do that.
Oh, cool. And Janine and I have done. We did one. No, we did a fundraiser, 2 fundraisers. So one fundraiser, she made Navajo tacos, and all of that money we were raising for the Navajo Nation when COVID first hit, so that we could purchase supplies and get supplies, to her home area. And then we did a second fundraiser where we split the money in half. Half of it went to our neighbor's farm and pantry, half of it went to the Navajo Nation. And Tim Linden made a jambalaya. I'm Cajun from South Louisiana, so I made a gumbo. And then Janine once again made Navajo tacos. The funny thing was, people were like, I don't know, I know what a Navajo taco was, and that's what I want. But it was until they started getting like tastes of like the jambalaya, they weren't getting it. But once they tasted it, they would buy it because they just had no idea what that was. But we did pretty good with that. And Janine purchased wood for grandmas, I guess.
Or people who have COVID who can't work anymore.
I can't hear you really well. Speak up just a little bit.
So we use some of the money to buy firewood for grandmas and grandpas, and for people who had COVID and now they can't work anymore because their lungs are really weak and their bodies are really weak. So.
Wow.
So we've done that. I'm a real grassroots person. I love to do grassroots efforts, to bring money to places that need it. I've done a lot of that, like, in Nepal and India, for, like after the earthquake. I've done it to people after hurricanes and, different whatever. But that, I love doing grassroots stuff like that. It didn't have anything to do with the organization, really. It just had to do with me and Janine's family and all the other people who helped us, which there were quite a bit. The Lions Club helped us out there. And then what's his name's trailer? The Foreign Angels trailer. Yeah. So we had a lot of help doing it. And I think, those end up being not just helpful to people, but meaningful to people, that all of these people took their time and helped others out. And I know that when Janine and I made 3-4 trips to the Navajo Nation to drop off supplies during this past year. Janine and we actually dropped the supplies off at homes one time on all these back roads, and everybody was so happy that people cared about them and didn't forget about them, so that was, it was nice to go out there and really, really, really see the people. But, Dana right now is in a bit of a bind. So, I'm all about trying to, make sure our finances are in place, and all the other donor stuff I do. So all the fundraising. So that's, and all the paperwork and all that. So that's what I do. Dana and Janine too, both need volunteers, but Dana's about to lose a really good volunteer for like 3 months because she's gone on vacation. Good for her. But that leaves Dana in a huge bind. And another thing, like, we really need a volunteer that would pick up our senior boxes and just deliver to 5 or 6 seniors just once a month. So we're always in real need of volunteers. And you can tell them about Karen's job and all the stuff that she does, because we need several people to fill
what she does. Yeah, definitely. She pretty much does almost everything. She does the organizing of the back room. She does the canned goods. She makes the boxes. But she's here all 4 days that I am here. And but to replace her, we're going to need several volunteers, because I know a lot of people can't, commit 4 days a week.
Right.
So you know, it would probably take 4 or 5 people to do the job that Karen does.
Mhm.
So for the pantry, you're not really going out into the community to collect stuff. They're bringing it to you, right?
Oh no, we go out to the grocery stores and the restaurants to collect from them. But as far as like what the community donates, they usually drop it off here.
Okay. So you're not always just there on site waiting for stuff to come in. You're out and about as well. And
Right. Yeah.
okay. And so then it comes in and it gets organized and then it gets redistributed.
Right. Yeah. And when we were a choice pantry, it seemed like it went a little easier and a little quicker, but because of the pandemic, we had to start making up boxes. But because of some of the things that Karen has implemented, now we are moving people through the line very quickly. So
people used to come in and pick out what they wanted.
yeah, it was a choice pantry.
So now it's just, they just get whatever's in their box.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, a far worse model when you're packing their boxes for them. Not only are they getting stuff that they don't want to eat and will not eat, but you get a lot more food waste that way. So and you know, when you come into a pantry where you can choose what you want, you know, that you have more dignity doing that.
Yeah.
So you can choose what you want, and you know what you're going to eat. So, you know, far fewer things will go to waste that way.
Yeah. I saw like the bag of onions that are in one of the boxes. You know, that's kind of hard to decide what you're going to do with a bag of onions. But if you take them and wrap them in aluminum foil and put butter and salt and bake them for a little bit, those are really good.
Oh, yum.
I chop them up. I chop them up and put them in the freezer because I always need onions.
That's a good idea. Bill says, eat about 50. I'm not sure what he's talking about. But, and Molly Make says Mexican ethnic food fundraisers with music and dancing would be great. That would be fun, like to have just a big party. Yeah. And she also says, oh, wow, you all do so much. You were like angels on this earth.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So do you guys have chickens?
No.
No? Don't want no chickens?
It's you know, so I'm the only full-time employee over here. And Janine, even though she works part-time for AmeriCorps and part-time for us, but she is here full-time. And then Dana's here for 30 hours a week. And then we have one other person that's here 16 hours, who does have special needs. So it's not like that person could be in charge. You know, it's hard because everyone else is a volunteer, and, you know, we all have a lot of responsibility, and it's, you know, we do try to help each other out, and we do help each other out, but we rely on volunteers an awful lot.
Yeah. You know, I've thought about how nice it would be to have a cow, you know, that you could get fresh milk, and then I think, but you have to milk that cow twice a day.
Right. Exactly. Right. And then just caring for the chickens, it's, you know, and even though they would give us eggs, which would be great, but to care for them and the space that they would need, and to make sure that they were cool in the summer so that they didn't die from the heat. I mean, there's so much that goes into that. And then that's another thing to go on Janine's plate. She comes here 7 days a week, because she is taking care of the animals even on the weekends. So we don't want, you know, our sheep and the 2 goats, they work for us.
Yeah. And a
they
little
are
more independent. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you guys looking for anything else to expand?
I don't know if we can handle anything else. You know, I really, right now, what I'm trying to do is, I mean, my concentration is on try to give our pantry clients resources that they could use that would minimize their need to come to a food pantry. That's something that not just I am concentrating my efforts on, but food banks across the U.S. This is the direction that, the larger food banks are going in, and I'm sure food pantries, will start to follow, that direction also. But people are talking about it a lot right now and saying, this is what we need to do. And I'm like, we need, I'm an action person. So yes, we need to do it, but we need to do it. So let's do it. I don't want to just talk about it, so we will get that in place. And I soon will have a Vista AmeriCorps member working with me specifically on fundraising and on things like that with, working on that kind of program. And the three of us are working together right now with a consultant that I wrote a grant so that we could have this consultant to work with our board and to work with us. So now the consultant is helping us to be a better team, to work together better, and make sure that this is a place where volunteers want to come, and make sure it's a place where we want to be, and have each other's back all the time, and work together really well. So there's a lot of things that we're doing internally that people don't really see, and then the work with our board so that they understand, what my position is and what I'm supposed to be doing versus what they're supposed to be doing. Because as an executive director, I am in charge of operations. This is the board should have nothing to say about operations at all. But yet you do have board members that think that they should be involved in operations. And it's like, no, you're overstepping your boundaries. So we're writing up all sorts of new plans and processes, and, we're really trying to move in a positive direction that's going to help this community out, the best way that we can. So another thing that, like we had a meeting today, so I've realized that, okay, I need to write this up. But I asked Dana to talk to some of our pantry clients and, about the root causes. I want to have a committee of people who have been to pantries, to find out about what their root causes were. And once we can do that, then we can come up with a survey that they would be comfortable with if they were taking the survey, and give that survey to people throughout Graham County, not just people who come to our pantry, but there are so many other people, and there are so many other reasons why they are not coming to a pantry, but they could use the food that we can provide. So I'm also really working on that, and I'm working on that also with our food coalition. So we're trying to come up, and the health department is working with us on this too. We are trying to come up with ways to get food out there as efficiently as we can to all of the food deserts that are within this county. So, I mean, there's big things on the horizon. It takes a long time, for all this to happen. For us, I'm really happy and excited about our better work together, and the board's better work with us also. For me, that's really exciting, because then that means we're really going to succeed, and then working more with our community members. We need to just be able to work better and work more with community members and find out their needs and how we can fulfill those needs without us thinking, oh, well, we need to do this or we need to do that, when we've never asked.
Yeah. And do you find that a lot of times it is the transportation that's a problem?
Well, that is an issue. Transportation, absolutely. But there are so many reasons that transportation is an issue.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
then you're going off on all these different reasons of why, yes, transportation is an issue.
Yeah. If we would just have the train going, because it used to be a passenger train, so we could get the train going again. That would solve a lot of problems. But that was like back in the 60s, I think. Molly makes ask, do some of the recipients volunteer? I know all would not be able to, but might make them feel more empowered in a sense. And you were saying that they do, right? That,
Yes, they do.
And,
Yeah.
and at our meeting today, we were talking about the fact that we're going to kind of make up a volunteer hour. I mean, we have a list of like all our volunteer positions, but make it like a pantry specific, this is when we need people. So when we do have a client that asks, we can give them that information with all the contact information they need. And if they really do want to come back and volunteer, we'd be happy to help them do that. We need them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. It's just kind of the luck of the draw to get to the right people, right? To get your need to get it to the right people. So maybe somebody will hear this.
I hope so.
Maybe. Molly Makes says, thank you so much for educating more on what you do. I had no idea all the work involved. Yes. Yeah. And I think that just educating the kids on gardening, I think, that's going to set up the next generation to be so much more empowered, I think, because I think that was really missing, right? In
Right.
kind of the last few years.
And not only the gardening aspect, but we do see like a middle school diversion program. And those kids have learned carpentry skills by building benches and painting. And what we've heard from those kids at different times, we've heard, oh, I'm going to end up in prison just like my daddy. We've heard that, or my father, or whatever. I say daddy, I'm from the South. But then we've also heard kids say, wow, I want to be a carpenter when I grow up.
Mm-hmm.
So just getting those kids here who are really at risk, and getting them here to volunteer in the garden. Not only do they grow, but they also, like I said, they do some carpentry stuff and learn skills. That is just preparing them better for their future. And they're seeing like, wow, I did that. So they're getting confidence and they're learning skills,
And
so
like we were talking about before, the being out in the sunlight, so getting vitamin D, producing that serotonin in their brain. If they're digging in the ground, that helps to produce good brain chemicals, and the exercise that they're getting, and it's all fantastic. Not only just skills, but actually like joy out of it.
Yes,
that's wonderful. And the same thing with the volunteering for the pantry. The people get joy and good brain chemicals from doing that kind of work too, from doing the volunteer work. So I think that all of what you're doing is providing so many different services that are not on the surface. There really takes some investigating to know how useful it actually is. Showing them healthy foods too in the gardens. Yes, Molly makes that. We were talking about that too, that the healthy foods, the eating the good foods really helps you with the dopamine and serotonin and all those things. So it's very important. Changing the gut microbiome, eating different kinds of foods, and eating a variety of vegetables really helps with all kinds of stuff. So very, very important. You guys are doing excellent work.
And it's nutrient dense produce as opposed to something you would get in the grocery store, which is fine, but it was ripened right before it went into the store. Yeah. So it doesn't have all the nutrients that it would have if it ripened on the vine.
Yeah. Well, if we don't have our garden going this year, and his schedule's changed, but if we had our garden, we could donate stuff to you, but they would just be tiny tomatoes the size of a pea.
Well, I do gotta say that a lot of the stuff that we do get in from Wilcox and stuff, a lot of people are like, oh, well, we don't know how to cook this, we don't know what to do with this. So we've implemented like putting recipes down like on a table outside so they can take photos, and then they will know how to prepare things too, because, you know, if somebody doesn't know how to cook something, then 9 times out of 10, they're not going to take it.
Yes.
So,
I have a tree collard growing in my front yard. Somebody gave me a tree collard and it's growing really nice and big, and I have never cooked that before. So I'm going to start taking some leaves and trying some different things. But yeah, I mean, some vegetables like artichokes are really intimidating to a lot of people.
right.
You know?
And a lot of the bigger squashes like spaghetti squash or butternut squash or acorn squash, things that, you know, people don't eat all the time.
Butternut squash with black beans, and you make a chili with that, and put a lot of seasoning in it. Also put a can of tomatoes. That is the best thing you'll ever have.
Yum. Well, if you
So
ever
good.
make beignets, let me know, okay? Because I want a beignet.
I actually
Nothing to do
have a
with
beignet.
vegetables.
I have a beignet mix at my house right now because I don't, you know, I would go to Cafe du Monde for that in New Orleans. We didn't, you know, we didn't make those at home because
Yeah.
that's, you know, we made gumbo and jambalaya and crawfish stew. So,
So every now and then you can get some crawfish around here, but not a lot. But yeah, no other seafood.
well, I went to Mexico like 2 weekends ago to Rocky Point, and I brought a bunch of shrimp back and fish. So I'm pretty happy because I've been to Louisiana once a year since I've been here. And I come back with crawfish, catfish from the swamp, because there's a certain man that I buy from who catches them himself, and it's very good. And if I go during shrimp season, I could just go right up to the boat and purchase shrimp, you know. So, and boudin. I come back with a lot of boudin because that is the best thing in the world.
Never had that.
Yeah, it's very southern Louisiana, very Cajun.
Cool.
My favorite is the gumbo. Like my whole family, we love gumbo now.
Gumbo's
Yes.
awesome. It really
Yeah,
is.
Especially with the eggs in there. So
it's fun to make too. It's really fun to make. Well, thank you guys so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all the information. You guys are doing just wonderful work. And if you want to do a bake sale, please let me know. I will donate some stuff. And
Yeah, if anybody wants to help us with a bake sale,
yeah,
just let us know. I mean, you can call, like if you go to our website, Our Neighbors Farm, or www.ourneighborsfarm.org, you know, you can find contact information on there. We would be happy to work with anyone who wants to help do any fundraising in any manner.
great. Okay. Well, thank you all so much. And we have another comment from Ada Levermoon. She says, very interesting. And Molly Make says, in Illinois, we have way too much corn.
Send it over.
Send it over. Thanks and bravo to you all. So,
well, thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to say, Janine and her mom, I guess, and her family last night, they made kneel down bread, which is made with corn, and brought me some today, and it's wrapped in corn husks. It's so good. So
Janine, the sign that you have, hold that up a little bit because it's right behind your name. What is that?
I wanted to share this a little bit, and this is the AmeriCorps sign that we work with. It's the Wildcat Corps, so I've done AmeriCorps for 3 years now. This is my 3rd term, and I just do it to help out the organization because it's such a wonderful cause. They pay us a living stipend, but
it's very small.
It's mostly volunteer work.
Yeah.
So if you guys are interested, we're going to be hiring. Hopefully, if we get the grant, we will be hiring AmeriCorps members for our Neighbors Farm and Pantry to work in the garden and to work with the education.
At 20 hours a week. So there's a stipend, but you also get the
Siegel Award, which is a college.
It's like a college fund that you can put towards your tuition or pay any student loans.
Great.
So,
okay.
That helps. But
Very cool.
But as of at the end of July or mid-July, Janine will no longer be an AmeriCorps member, and she will be working with us full-time at that point. So we will at that point have 2 full-time employees.
Nice. Very good.
Even
So it's
though,
all
even though mine is mostly administration, but these two, like everything that they do is program, because they are doing the program every day, all
nice.
day.
Well, it sounds like it's like a win-win situation in a lot of ways. So that's good. Bill says, thank you. It's a great thing you're doing. So
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having us, and thank, all of
Yeah.
your listeners and watchers. We're happy to talk about what we do, and we're happy to do what we do. So
good.
y'all just have a wonderful night.
Thank you so much. You guys have a good evening.
All right.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.